Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Uncuckables for another week. I'm Tim Wilms, editor-in-chief of the Unshackled, here in, what would you call it, with one step out of lockdown. David Hiscox, the editor of some other Australian alt media website.
Hello, Tim. Always a pleasure to be here. Yeah, well, we all know, don't mention the XYZ.
Yes, exactly. And it's why the Uncuckables logo is actually covering your ID there. It just says the.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, very droll. Very droll.
Welcome to all our viewers on YouTube and DLive. Reg, Penney and Pissy Leaks Pete, they'll be joining us in the second half of the show. And I do believe we might hear from Stephen Wells, who's in the basically... the biggest open air prison lockdown jurisdiction, Western Australia, where you can, you're free to move around it as much as you want, but nobody can come in, nobody can go out.
Yeah, I've said it before, I'll say it again. I don't have a problem with that kind of idea. It has to be noted, people are noting in the chat, Tim, that we're actually on time. It's intriguing that this is, we're starting off just you and me, so obviously it's not my fault.
Well, it's nobody's fault. Well, because we're on time. There's no
look, we got rid of the other riffraff, and look, hey, we're on time.
Which other riffraff are you referring to?
All the other riffraff who get on here and yabber away.
Well, we might just get, just a reminder to everyone, of course, we are always on Entropy, which is the YouTube and DLive enhanced software, where we've actually got a poll tonight. And who is, because the title of the show is Big Fat Brother, who's the biggest fat watcher? Is it Magda Szubanksi? Is it Luke Cornelius? Or is it Lisa Neville, who've all, I would say, made an impact, a hard landing back into the news this week?
A deep impact, yes.
Yeah, yes. They're hard to miss.
You have to kind of drive around them to do so, yes.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I'm glad that you...
Because Szubanski has her own postcode, and just sort of moves around wherever she goes.
Yeah, and there's a shopping strip dedicated fully to her consumption.
Ice cream, the entire thing is an ice cream shop, yeah.
Oh, and bakery as well. There's a KFC McDonald's just for her as well.
Yeah.
Well,
Victoria Police have been low on donuts ever since Cornelius rose through the ranks. Yeah.
Well, that's why I think I said why during our stage 4 lockdown, KFC and Krispy Kreme didn't shut as they did in New Zealand's stage 4. Just so that we did have that KFC shortage for a while.
Well, and also, I heard that there was that party where, apparently they ordered KFC for 20 people. Apparently that was cover for Luke Cornelius. It was just him. Yeah.
Oh, I think when they went in and found those people, they confiscated all the KFC.
Yeah, that's it. We're taking this as evidence.
And what did
one man ate the evidence?
And what did Luke Cornelius say today? Because he was back talking about the surveillance for the grand final weekend. He was on 3AW, and he said our drones won't be hovering over people's pizza ovens in their backyard. Why did his mind turn to pizza?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They're sending out the drones looking for people's barbecues, and they're just going to swoop in and take the.
Maybe not.
Hey, Tim,
maybe.
Tim, are you able to turn yourself down just a little bit, just so that you're more at my level?
Okay. Well, you should turn yourself up.
I have. Matty was able to turn himself down the other night. If you were able to just turn down just a tad.
Let Dave speak. That's the. How is that? Is people in the chat complaining or?
Yeah, I'm just a little bit lower, but yeah, you sound a little bit softer now, so that might be better if you just have the mic further away. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the fat jokes.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
Because I think on Saturday, because they want to crack down on illegal parties, and so Luke Cornelius, he'll be out on sniff patrol. He'll be like, I can smell pizza, sausages, bacon. Quick, they won't need the police sniffer dogs. They'll just have him sniffing for food.
Just have Cornelius. I love it. Tell you what, between him and Neville, it's a wonder there's any food left for the rest of the force.
Oh, have you? I'm not sure if it's ever crossed your mind, but I've thought about this for years. That Lisa Neville looks like a Chris Lilly character, and I'm noticing.
Oh my goodness! Maybe it's his greatest ever troll. It's entirely possible.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I saw. This is one of the memes that I've seen. This is Lisa Neville, and that's one of Chris Lilly's characters, Nan, who was in charge of the youth prison.
Yeah. Well, it's why we go after Lisa Neville, because Chris Lilly has made himself an archetype. It's why that degenerate J.K. Rowling made what's the name that character who dressed in pink and who was principal for a year. I can't remember her name.
What is it? Dolores Umbridge.
That's the one. Yeah, Dolores. Yes. So like that kind of character is an archetype for a reason, and like when you see Lisa Neville, you see that archetype. You see somebody who you look at them and you listen to them speak and you listen to what they talk about, and you're like, how did you rise through the ranks? And you have to understand that they are just these vicious, vindictive, manipulative people who drag other people down. They're the sort of people who get information on somebody, they undermine them, they go above their heads, and that's how they get to the kind of role that they are. And so Chris Lilly, like when he's doing that character, like he knows what he's trying to look like, and it's not an accident.
It's like how Luke Cornelius, as soon as we saw him and speak, everyone thought Chief Wiggum.
Yeah, that's it. And you look at his background; he's a lawyer. He's not really a beat cop.
Yeah, and he's assistant commissioner, that's the third tier of Victoria Police leadership, because above him is the deputy commissioners. That's Rick Nugent and Neil Patterson, and then there's obviously the chief commissioner, Shane Patton.
Okay, are they fat?
No, they're not.
Okay. I've got nothing to say.
Although we have had a fat chief commissioner before in Christine Nixon.
Yeah, we all remember her.
Yeah. All right, let's tell the audience about why Magda Szubanksi is back in the news today. And I'm glad you did an article on it, Dave, so I wasn't forced to go to a mainstream media source. Do you want me to go through it because you like me reading your articles?
Yeah, they're brilliant. Also, just move your microphone away just a little bit further.
You need to speak up more.
Yeah, I will. I'll yell.
Magda Szubanski is thin, stunning, and brave. Her family were Poles who escaped the Nazis. Their story demonstrates that the only way to prevent another Holocaust is for the government to impose an ideology on the whole of society that makes everybody think the same, to respect what people say on the internet, and to quarantine people in small areas of the city, like the Calder Raceway track.
Yeah, or like the Warsaw Ghetto. It's ironic, isn't it? What does democracy get us? It gets us degeneracy on every channel and butt sex for 5-year-olds.
It is a well-established fact that Adolf Hitler's anti-Semitism grew out of his cultured attachment to white supremacist concepts such as fitness and physical beauty. Yeah, you just have to look at how fit and vain Blair Cottrell is to just prove that. Absolutely,
yeah. Fitness is a white supremacist concept. It's a patriarchal concept, and we should do everything that we can to destroy fitness. Do you know, it's the fact that the coronavirus is actually killing so many people with underlying issues is itself a product of patriarchy, because it's the coronavirus is more likely to kill people who don't meet patriarchal white supremacist concept of beauty. And that's one of the saddest things about all of this, Tim.
That's why the gyms are still shut throughout Victoria, because you don't want people strengthening their immune system by getting fit and also going outside through getting some vitamin D.
Absolutely. Luke Cornelius wants more people to look like him. It'll just it's his way of rising in the food chain.
Well, it's also that when we're talking about characters, there's also this theory going around that Luke Cornelius is a Magda Szubanksi character.
Would not surprise me. Yeah.
People are still complaining that they can't hear you. Why don't you put yourself up?
I have. I don't know what else to do.
I'm not sure if there's anything I can do on my end. Except the only options I have is to kick or ban you from the studio.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah. I'll keep going. There's literally no middle ground on this issue. One moment you're going for a jogger on the block, the next you're guessing 6 million Jews. Yes, that's that's a quite seamless escalation.
Well, yeah, and so I'm setting the scene because that's essentially what this article does. It's actually worth reading this article through because we'll get to see the same escalation. Like they juxtapose events and danger, like in a way that literally does not make sense. And if you actually, if we follow through to the actual article as well, we'll actually be able to see
I want to read the headline first. Extremist targeted Magda Szubanski with a trolling campaign after her Sharon Strzelecki COVID-19 ad from the ABC. Magda Szubanski was targeted in a coordinated right-wing extremist attack online following her Victorian government COVID-19 ad, according to the eSaftey Commissioner. Now, if you don't know who the eSaftey Commissioner is, it's a federal government created position. It was actually introduced under the Abbott government as basically to take down cyberbullying and other harmful material online to particularly protect children.
Yeah. So that's a really, really interesting point here. This is a great example of how an institution or a position gets shifted, it gets mutated to basically support the powerful. Like you're saying here, it was basically supposed to actually help the people who didn't have a voice for themselves. Yeah.
The eSaftey Commissioner.
Yeah. Like
supposedly to protect children, yes, from cyberbullying.
Yeah, Magda Szubanski is a public figure. Like she's got access.
She's a big public figure.
Yes, very, very big. Yes, and she has access to a very broad range of listeners. She can fend for herself. She doesn't need the eSaftey Commissioner who was supposed to look after children standing up and going, "Oh, she's being bullied," because if you look at her character as well, like let's psychoanalyze her a little bit here. What's her name? Magda Szubanski is at heart an inner city elitist. Does she live in Toorak?
I don't know where she lives. She would live in a rich suburb in one of those, whether it be Brighton or Toorak or one of those, because she would have earned millions of dollars from her various comedy shows over the years.
She's not poor. Yeah. So and she's doing ads with Kim Kardashian, so she's not poor.
Yeah. Yeah, that's also, I think, with the deal with the Uber Eats ad, she gets like a year's supply of Uber Eats.
That's very, very dangerous. A year's supply to her is different to other people, I'd say. So she grew up as the daughter of Polish immigrants in suburban Australia. I think it was Melbourne. So she would have been an outsider as a kid, and from what I understand, she had eating disorders, and like it was a little bit her upbringing was a little bit it wasn't great. Yeah, I think she might have been bullied as well. So here she is acting the character of a netballer. So she's caricaturing the Australians who probably would have given her a hard time out in suburbia. And the whole concept of Catherine Kim was to make outer suburban Aussies look like idiots.
Well, I know that's your interpretation of it. My opinion of the show is that it was basically to, chronologue, basically go through what life is in suburbia, cash up bogans, because it was the early 2000s was the era of, as they said in Kath and Kim, effluence, because they lived in that nice house in Fountain Lakes. And so basically how, like, what is modern Australia like when, everyone, including the bogans, are rich?
Yeah. Well, my take on that, I could never watch Kath and Kim. I couldn't handle it. I would cringe because it would remind me of my upbringing. But it felt like it was being made. It wasn't being made with love. It felt like it was being made by inner city elitists. And so the argument that you can make is that her actual character of Sharon Strzelecki is actually bullying the Australian people. So my argument from that is that it's rich of her to complain that she's being bullied herself, because she's actually trying to belittle the Australian people. Like, she's trying to get back at the Australian people who she hates.
Don't forget that Kath and Kim also mocked the society people in Melbourne with their poor and true characters, which was personified recently in Jodie Grollo, the Karen from Brighton, who quite sensibly has used her money to escape Brighton and Melbourne, and she's at Howard Springs in the Northern Territory trying to escape to Queensland doing quarantine there.
Okay. This is one of the few arguments where I'm prepared to be prepared to hear other viewpoints on the matter. I am interested to hear what other people think of it. It's always been my take on Kath and Kim. I've never liked it, but I know you like it. Yeah. So yeah, that's basically just like honing in on that first paragraph. It's amazing that she's got a commissioner who's supposed to be looking after her children. Now this office has been elevated to protecting public figures who are basically putting out the propaganda of a authoritarian government, is protecting them from pressure, from criticism.
So I'll go on. Activist Nadol Nayon, who's a Sudanese Australian lawyer from Melbourne, who's always complaining about racism. She's a bald Sudanese lady.
We've gone after her as well. Yeah.
She's blocked both myself and the Unshackled's Twitter accounts.
I think it's probably highly likely that this article is sort of referencing us a little bit, but as usual, they're not going to name us or link to us.
Szubanksi had reprised her role of Sharon Strzelecki from Kath and Kim in a TV ad, playing netball on her own and wearing a face mask in a bid to encourage people to follow health advice. Playing netball against yourself is not what it's all cracked up to be, Sharon said in the ad. But you know what? It's not the lockdown that's the enemy. It's the virus. And as soon as we all obey the rules, the sooner it will be over and we can get back to the stuff that really matters. Nettie.
That is an excellent impersonation of it.
If I can just mix the two fatties together again, Luke Cornelius in his press conference today said, well, it's grand final week again, and people need to stay at home if they're watching the grand final. We had another grand final last week. The Melbourne Vixens won the netball premiership, and everyone stayed at home for that.
Is that what Cornelius actually said?
Yeah.
What an absolute soy boy. Nobody cares.
Well, that was the first I knew of it until he mentioned it. Oh, their netball grand final was last week.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm sure it was. It must have been front page news on the ABC. Yeah.
Yeah. It's good that everyone resisted the urge to run out onto the street and celebrate the Vixens' premiership.
That's it. I hear it was pandemonium in Patterson's Lakes. Yeah.
Szubanski was then subjected to continued online trolling and abuse. That rampaged up after TV chef Pete Evans posted about the ad, calling it offensive and disgraceful and accusing it of brainwashing children.
Which it was. Yes, which it was. And that's the point.
During Senate estimates late on Wednesday, the eSaftey Commissioner, Julie Inman Grant, said the trolling of Szubanski and lawyer Nadol Nguyen was part of an increase in what she called volumetric attacks. That's the first I've heard of that term.
Yeah, I was gonna put in here, but I was just a little rushed for time. Nobody knows what the word volumetric means.
What we're seeing is a lot of what we call volumetric cross-platform online abuse, which is coordinated by obscenely white extremists and conspiracy theorists, Miss Inman Grant explained.
White extremists. See the escalation here. If we look at that first paragraph, what does that first paragraph say again? It says the first paragraph of the ABC article.
Yeah, Magda Szubanski was targeting a coordinated right-wing extremist attack online.
So the awkward moment when grassroots anger at being lectured through a proxy becomes
about health of all things.
Yes, becomes a coordinated far-right attack. Yeah, so what happened a few months ago was righteous anger by people. They were like, how dare you, essentially. But now it's a coordinated attack. And also notice again, like they're still talking about this a few months later.
Yes.
Similar to the booing of Adam Goodes. It's very important to retell history several months later, so that when people talk about it, they are setting the narrative of this now. It wasn't grassroots. What's the word? Like everybody thinking exactly the same thing because it's like ridiculous. It was coordinated. It was a few evil people on the internet coordinating.
Yeah,
it was you, me, and Maddie, Tim. Like we set them off.
The modern extremist cells and headquarters, they've all got computers. They'll look at, I'm writing these tweets, quick, attack, send the minions to attack this personality, go.
Yeah, that's right. And it's all below ground. Like literally, we have caves like under the whole of Melbourne. We've got a team of we actually outsource it. Like we've got a whole bunch of Mexicans like just typing.
All right, I'll go on to what Miss Imnam. If I go down here, it gets even. Yeah, Miss Inman Grant. The whole idea is to create an avalanche of hate directed towards specific targets, particularly women or those with other intersectional features.
Yeah, okay. So again, this stuff's amazing. So it's a coordinated attack against women. Here's the thing. They set women up in these positions because they can tick the diversity box and because they have the automatic shielding of, oh, I'm a woman. If you attack me, that's sexist. That's why they're deliberately put in this place.
Unless, of course, that's a female journalist asking Dan Andrews a question, such as Rachel Baxendale, Peter Credlin, or Alex White, then, yeah, you can abuse them and send them all the threats you like.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so there's the double standard there too. And also it's projection, because they're actually the ones who are doing the coordinating. They're the ones who have the AI, who have the algorithms. They've planned out basically everything that's going on right now. They've war gamed it. They know they're basically measuring the level of resistance or support across the whole world for a whole range of subjects. And they have teams. They have teams and paid to troll or to sort of push conversation in a certain direction, and they have their own bots. But like a bunch of ordinary Australians who just want their country back, saying no, that's organised far right extremist resistance, and it must be squashed.
Commissioner Inman Grant said the agency was tracking right-wing movements and conspiracy theorists. What? She thinks the eSaftey Commission is ASIO now?
Yeah. See the escalation. It's ridiculous. Like it's like all you've got. This is just people like criticizing a fat chick. That all of a sudden, it's like like this is a national security threat apparently.
In the wake of the Christchurch atrocity, we were given a substantial set of new powers around abhorrent violent material, but also some around ISP blocking in the event of an online crisis.
Yeah.
So trolling the abuse of Magda Szubanksi online was an online crisis.
Yes, and notice they bring Christchurch into this. Like they always bring Christchurch into it. Like this is the sort of stuff that I would write satire about. And it's why I wrote my final paragraph down there. It is utterly ridiculous.
And so she goes on to say, many of the events we had to assess in the last year have involved right-wing extremism, including the Halle terrorist attack that happened on Twitch, El Paso, and others. We've, of course, been following things like QAnon, the far-right Boogaloo movement, and some of the right-wing extremists here in Australia.
Yeah. It's just getting stupid. Hence my ending. It's like, how stupid is this?
Savannah's got a good comment. Fat shaming is fascism now.
Yeah, it kind of is.
Yeah, and you conclude by saying, as stated, there is literally no middle ground on this issue. One moment you may find yourself thinking that Magda Szubanski has cankles. Next minute you're stocking up on ammo and walking into a mosque whilst a marching band tune.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It makes no sense. There's no link between fat shaming Magda Szubanski and Christchurch. It's just that came out of nowhere, but they just do this juxtaposition and they expect people to go along with it. If you actually follow through to the actual ABC website, like if you look at the red link at the top I've got there, just follow that through. And if we scroll down, what we'll see is that all through this article, they've got these links to all these other articles that they've done about extreme far right extremists. They've got it's all the way through. It's bizarre how they've managed to link these two stories together.
And this has got Magda Szubanski's tweet responding to the trollers. Okay, here's the thing. Troll me as much as you like. So she's happy to be trolled.
Yeah, she doesn't need the
eSaftey Commissioner. Yeah.
She's big enough and fat enough to look after herself.
But I am never going to close my Twitter account. Bring it, COVID deniers. Let's see what you have got. Let's bring you right out into the sunshine. Let's see your real names and your real facts. Let's see the whites of your eyes. Well, we're both here, Magda.
Yeah. Well, I attach my name to everything I write. Yeah. That's it. Although she's the one who gets by like acting other characters. So,
though we're not the first ones to get into trouble for fat shaming Magda Szubanski. It was 10 years ago. Kyle Sandilands. This is from September 2009. Shock jock Kyle Sandilands has again caused a controversy. This time saying actress Magda Szubanski could become skinny if she was in a concentration camp. He has since offered an apology, saying he did not mean to cause offense, but he's expected to face the wrath of advertisers and listeners only weeks after he and co-host Jackie O sparked furor over a segment which a 14-year-old girl who was hooked up to a lie detector revealed that she was raped when she was 12. So Szubanski, who is a spokeswoman for the weight loss company Jenny Craig, has lost 25 kilograms since she appeared on the series Kath and Quinn. Sorry?
Now bankrupt Jenny Craig? Are they?
Well, they dropped her as a spokeswoman.
Yeah, okay. Fancy
Yeah.
that. Oh, you can
Yeah.
hear the thud in Ballarat.
Yeah. Her family is of Polish origin, a country where many of the worst Nazi concentration camps, including Auschwitz, were located. Sandler's joked that Szubanksi might work with the weight loss company was not finished. Magda could have another run of it, he said on 2Day FM. She could get another season out of them easy. She's not skinny. Jackie also suggested Szubanski might not be able to lose any more weight due to her build. That's what all fat people say. You put her in a concentration camp and watch the weight fall. Like she could be skinny. Szubanski brushed off the comments. Szubanski brushed off the comments that said they were offensive to those who had suffered in concentration camps. I couldn't give two hoots about what Kyle says about me, but to trivialize what happened to people in concentration camps is abhorrent, she told 9 MSN. Wow, that is 2009.
Yeah, it's intriguing. Like, you know, it hurts her. You know, it bites. Because, you know, like the ABC and SBS have come out with this stuff like several months later. And the eSaftey commissioner has come out with it. You know, he really hit a fat bone with that one. Yeah.
Though you and I both know that the best weight loss book is the Communist Manifesto.
Yeah, that's it. It starved more people than supposedly the National Socialists were even managed to starve even before the National Socialists were elected. So yeah.
Although the mainstream media wasn't done with the far right-wing extremists because SBS did another article. This time it wasn't. Well, they didn't. ASIO wasn't the go-to this week. So, eSaftey Commissioner and now the Australian Federal Police. Young Australians are being aggressively radicalised through right-wing extremism, Federal Police warn. The AFP Deputy Commissioner confirmed right-wing extremism is on the rise, with younger people being at risk of aggressive online radicalisation. Appearing before a Senate Estimates Committee on Tuesday, AFP Deputy Commissioner Ian McCartney, so this is McCartneyism, said right-wing extremism continues to present a real and ongoing threat that can target young people. We're dealing with people either radicalized in the real world or radicalized online. We're finding now that in terms of right-wing extremism that the concern for us is young persons being radicalized online very aggressively in relation to right-wing extremism. So he's basically just using all the buzzwords. This is what he looks like here. Ian McCartney. He's just using all the buzzwords that SBS and the ABC use all the time.
Yeah, that's the thing. As we've said, basically every couple of weeks now, it's not a surprise anymore. Every couple of weeks, they put out essentially the same article under the pretext of they've interviewed another talking head about it. So they put in a few different quotes of this new talking head, and then they basically write the same article every single time. They say, oh, the right-wing extremists in Australia are exactly the same as ISIS, because ISIS recruit people on the internet and right-wing extremists recruit people on the internet. Therefore, they're all the same. That's the logic.
Australia's security agencies have for some time warned of the increasing danger posed by right-wing extremists becoming more organised and active in Australia through its surveillance activities. In his evidence, Deputy Commissioner said the AFP continued to see more investigations of right-wing groups taking place, but he did not reveal the exact numbers, arguing it could jeopardise active matters, so it could reveal that they're watching this stream.
Either that, or it could actually reveal the fact that, like, even though supposedly 40% of their time or budget or whatever goes into us, the actual like threat is like nothing compared to like actual terrorists, like actual Islamic terrorists. Because like what do we care about? We care about freedom. We care about securing the existence of our people and a future for white children by having plenty of white babies, and building strong white communities.
We have seen an increase. We see it as a real ongoing threat. So for us, it's an increasing workload. Must be such hard work. Mr. McCartney said Islamic inspired terrorism continued to be the biggest threat, with Sydney and Melbourne the centres of that activity. That comes as a shock to me, that Sydney and Melbourne.
Yeah. So and this is the link, isn't it? Like, why do Sydney and Melbourne have the greatest Islamic terror threat? Because there are most Muslims there. Why is it all of a sudden a problem that white people are standing up and speaking out against immigration? Because they've been bringing in immigrants. They've had mass immigration for decades, and they're replacing us. And so all we're doing is saying, hey, you're replacing us with mass immigration. And they're saying, hey, you're an extremist using identity politics. You're exactly the same as ISIS.
So I'll go on to this. He said the threat remains across the country due to the tendency for right-wing extremism to spread online. What we see with right-wing extremism, particularly with the effect and power of the internet in terms of those sites, it's apparent that it is more spread throughout Australia. The domestic spy agency
fancy that because they're Australians spread all throughout Australia who realise that they're being replaced. Who would have known?
ASIO has reported far-right violent extremism now accounts for up to 40% of its counter-terrorism workload, up from 10 to 15% before 2016.
Yeah, it's just silly.
ASIO Director General Mike Burgess later told Senate Estimates Committee that his agency had diverted additional resources towards dealing with the evolving threat, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic. Many of these groups and individuals have seized upon COVID-19, believing it reinforces the narrative and conspiracies at the core of the ideologies. They see the pandemic as proof of the failures of globalization, multiculturalism, and democracy, and confirmation that societal collapse and a race war are inevitable.
Okay, so let's dwell on this for a little bit. So, can you read out that last paragraph again? This is the crux of it.
They see the pandemic as proof of the failure of globalization, multiculturalism, and democracy, and confirmation that.
Let's just stop there for a moment. So, the failure of globalization, multiculturalism, and democracy. So, what we're seeing is a virus. Even let's consider for a minute that it might be real. Even if it is real, it's spread due to globalization. That's a fact. You can't.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yes. And so they have, because of a virus which has spread due to globalization, they have shut down the world economy. So the key supposed benefit of globalization, i.e. the trade, worldwide trade, making resources easier to get, making things cheaper for all of us, that's gone. Yes. So that's what you call a failure of globalization. A failure of multiculturalism. Who brought the virus to Australia?
And how did the second wave spread in Melbourne?
Foreigners. Yeah. And hiring foreign security guards instead of the Australian Defence Force. And what was the last one? The failure of democracy.
Yes.
So fancy. So like we're told that democracy is the greatest system that we've got, or at least it's the least worst system that we've got.
That's what Churchill said.
Yes. It's the worst system of all that there is, apart from all of the others. We've gone to the point that we have exported democracy at the barrel of a gun to other countries. We have literally killed thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. We killed tens of millions of people in Europe to bring democracy to Europe. And then we've continued that murder throughout the rest of the world, supposedly because democracy is such a great system. But what is democracy at the moment? Democracy is being locked in your house not being able to go to work, not being able to open your business. If you try to organize people to protest against these the government decisions, you will have police knock down your door and arrest you. And let's look at even before the coronavirus. What did democracy mean? Democracy means basically elevating parasites above the people who actually create wealth, elevating the supposed marginalized against the rest of us. Democracy doesn't protect us. Democracy is brainwashing our children, is giving us degeneracy on television. It's degenerated our culture. Democracy is essentially socialism as well. Democracy is basically taking money from us and giving it to people who produce less and giving it to other countries. Democracy is a failure, and you can make an absolute solid case for that. Just to dismiss it in the end paragraph like this is it's extremely lazy, but it's deliberate. Like they've set the scene of these dangerous far right individuals, and then they sort of briefly mention what the arguments that we make, but they're not intending to make any kind of engagement with it.
Democracy still gave us a police state and a surveillance state in 2020. And how often repeatedly do the politicians ignore what public opinion is?
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll finish this off now. Mr. McCartney recognised the AFP's power to intervene against the threat through a law enforcement approach, but said this must also be addressed across the community through public messaging and education. The importance of leaders in the community to dispel some of the hatred that's circulated on the internet, he said. Was he talking about Devere Abramovich there?
All he's talking about here is the fact that we object to being replaced. That's hatred. The fact is, like, what they're doing is hatred. Again, democracy is bringing in foreigners by the tens of millions to deliberately replace the people who are voting for you. How can that be described as something successful? Democracy is a recipe for murder. It's a recipe for genocide of the people who you're ruling over. Don't tell us democracy is a good thing.
Well, democracy doesn't stop stuff like that happening, but as we'll go back to that saying of Churchill that it's a bad system, but most of the others are bad as well.
How do we know that? Like, what's wrong with a good king?
Well, it works well for some countries which are happy. The nation of Bhutan is pretty happy.
Okay, but we've got a strong history of having good monarchs over the years. Yeah, there are awful ones, and the thing about a bad monarch is that you can always rise up and kick out the bad monarch. And then get a good strong ruler. You have a democracy. Like, you get rid of you vote out a bad ruler. You're still left with the corrupt, decrepit system.
Speaking of poor democratic outcomes, the New Zealand election on the weekend, where Jacinda Ardern, even under a proportional representation system, her Labor Party won a majority in that country's House of Representatives. And I know that you and Maddie discussed this on XYZ Live. I'm just going to show
we had a lot of fun.
highlights reel where Maddie said Jacinda Ardern is a man. His baby was a fake. And he's a globalist Mason. You don't get anywhere within this satanic system without selling your soul to Satan.
I said that one.
There's just something androgynous going on about the whole thing. And Maddie also said The Bible proves Jesus was white. The Lord will make sure that we win.
Yeah. I stand by every word that we've said there. We had a lot of fun. So like often we'll say stuff knowing that we'll probably get a highlights reel made of it. But as I said, we watch the stream. We back up what we say. It's also the entry point because it's what I find interesting about New Zealand. Just to recap, New Zealand, the globalists seem to have gone to an awful lot of trouble to lock up New Zealand and make sure that it's controlled by their guy. And I'm no pun intended there either. We know that billionaires went down there at the start of the pandemic. That's where they've got their fall.
Well, they've found, a lot of billionaires have found what would you say, solace or refuge in New Zealand.
Yeah. And I think that's again, like that's just the tip of the iceberg. What we're seeing with that, what we're seeing are chess pieces being laid out across the whole world. The Canadian government has hinted that they are making contingency plans for the American election to be contested and for there to be a period of instability. You look at the Democrat policy and their policy seems to be they're not interested in winning the election, but if they can have a period of instability and uncertainty when their anarchist proxies can cause as much mayhem as possible, that suits them. And you've got the Canadian government, they've made a deal with the Chinese government that the Chinese can actually station troops in Canada, so right on America's border. You've basically got the globalists instigating instability on both China's periphery and Russia's periphery. So the three great empires, the two Asian empires, have instability been provoked on the outskirts, and you've got the great empire of America, like it's being torn apart from within. And so it's like the globalists have their chess pieces in place, ready for November. And so what's going on in New Zealand, to me, just seems to be an entry point into that. Like when you just look at the geopolitics of what's going on right now, it's very, very interesting. I think we're in for an interesting time.
Now, what you and Maddie talked about, Jacinda Ardern being a man, you're not the first to hypothesize about that, because there's this famous footage of Jacinda Ardern walking in a red dress where you can see something.
So that when she does do
here we go.
Her speech,
just let me come back to you, Corin, because here she comes now. She could not look happier. Grant Robertson on our left. Gilbert.
You have people within the Labor Party with, hoping to get into that cabinet, and of course then there's also things like Under Secretary, which for people not familiar is sort of a halfway house role. I think David Seymour was an Under Secretary, wasn't he, or did he turn that down? No, he took the Under Secretary position. You can have things like Ministers of State, which aren't actually ministers of anything, but you're a minister nonetheless. Yeah. So there's all sorts of.
And we're joined by Stephen Wells now down here. Hello, Stephen. You're just in time for us. We're discussing the horse face apocalypse.
Yeah, I just sort of caught the end of that. As your clocks changed, have you had like daylight saving something bullshit happened? Or
yes,
have you started?
It's well into the evening.
Oh, sorry guys. I was coming on my usual time over here in Perth, where we don't change the clocks and don't piss people around all the time. So sorry. So yes, so Horseface is a man. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, like you can see clearly in that dress. That's a horse schlong in there. Yeah,
there's a horse schlong. Yeah. I'll look for her in Big Dongs Anonymous on the Pornhub.
It would be interesting just to get a picture of her face without the hair. Like, there's just something really, really weird about her. There's just something creepy about him. Yeah.
There's something about Jacinda.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it will sort of complement the all of the Michael Obama memes going around at the moment, I suppose.
The audience is requesting you turn down your volume, Stephen, because you've come in with a blast.
That's just because I'm an actor. I project.
No,
I don't actually have a volume. I don't actually have a volume button on my computer. It's so I'll just stand back and I'll whisper from now on. Is that better?
Yes, or get your what is it? Tech genius, Sophia.
Yeah, she can't. No. Yeah, I'll try not to do any of this. Law. blow out the eardrums of people.
Well, you're allowed to sing in public in Western Australia. You're not in South Australia because singing spreads coronavirus. Here in Victoria, with the schools reopening, children are not allowed to sing. And part of the reason why the churches are not open here is because of singing as well. Apparently, you just spit out corona droplets when you sing and also dance as well. There's just all these droplets which just cover you.
Well, did you hear apparently in Switzerland it was a yodeling concert which led to an outbreak.
Oh, well, there you go.
You can't make this stuff up. Like that was actually a headline.
Oh, I used to think the climate change claims were getting really stupid, but I'm wondering how stupid it can get before they start the next fake thing to get over the fact that the old fake thing is coming undone.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I actually put out 2 articles this week. One was called what was it? 4 corona hysteria headlines you won't believe aren't satire.
Oh, I'll bring that up.
Yeah, because there was some amazing stuff in there.
Have you heard that the Babylon Bee have been demonetized, by the way, for
oh, really?
Yeah. For posting something posting satire online with Monty Python, which could incite violence, apparently.
Well, that was the excuse. So they basically They found a reason. They get tweeted by Trump, basically, destroying the entire narrative. These people have to be brought down.
Yeah, I found the article, Dave. Here it is. 4 corona hysteria headlines you won't believe aren't satire. So this was the yodeling super spreader concert in Switzerland you're referring to?
Yeah, that's it. And what was the next one? Oh, the next one was Air. Check out the next one. It's on the ABC.
Being outdoors doesn't mean you're safe from COVID-19. Just ask Trump's White House guests.
So not only do they make us scared of air, they managed to get a bit of Trump derangement syndrome in there.
That's why Dan Andrews forces us to wear a mask whenever we're outside, even if there's nobody within a kilometer, because you could get a 1 in 6 million chance of getting coronavirus if anyone in the vicinity, like in the like 100 k's away has coronavirus. Like, given that we're at just about 100 active cases now, it can.
Well, it's if you wear a mask, it will catch all of those covert droplets, and even the ones that escape with the air, it'll stick to your skin. And as long as you don't dance, they'll never shake off.
What
else have we got? Coronaviral fragments detected in Apollo Bay wastewater. They've also.
They are literally checking out poo.
Yeah, because the Bathurst 1000 happened on the weekend, and they found excrements of coronavirus in the local shit at Bathurst. So anyone who attended the Bathurst 1000, if you develop symptoms, get tested.
Oh God.
Has there actually ever been, you know all this stuff, Stephen, they found excrements of the coronavirus in the shit. Have they actually linked the shit to a case?
No, not that I've heard of as yet. Not a specific case. They just putting out the random scientists say type things. Scientists say that this could occur. This could be true. It's possible. It might. If all the weasel words in every article. Just to cover themselves in case anybody decides to get a lawyer.
Oh, and this is the famous worldwide daily numbers, the cases, and also the deaths. But apparently, your native, the UK now, Manchester, Liverpool, their hospitals are getting more overwhelmed than they did during the first wave. And what is it? Wales is in that circuit breaker 2-week lockdown. I'm sure it'll be longer than 2 weeks. And what is it? Ireland has taken some of the Melbourne model with the 5K radius. Dave, stop pouring water.
I'm just trying to trigger our guests.
Yeah, I knew that the UK would start to roll out their favourite parts of the Melbourne model.
Yeah, they've been really going to town, haven't they? And apparently they're getting the hospital admissions now by anybody. I can't remember the exact terms of the things, but they're now keeping people in hospital against their will, even if they don't have symptoms, even if they're not ill, to make the hospital numbers boost up now. So like you can't go in and get treatment unless you get tested, and if you get tested, you find positive, and if you get found positive, you have to be kept in hospital. And so the hospital admission numbers are going up because they've found a way to boost that artificially. Also interesting. The numbers for flu and pneumonia, someone's been able to find the official figures for previous years versus this year, and lo and behold, there are 30,000 fewer cases of pneumonia and flu this year in Britain than on average, and the flu numbers in Britain go up and down by about 10,000 or more, 10 to 15,000 from a good year to a bad year. But the pneumonia numbers are set at around about a plus 30,000. It just says on the statistics, plus 30,000 cases of people dying of pneumonia. But according to the official COVID statistics, 40,000 people have died in the UK from COVID, but 30,000 fewer than average pneumonia and flu totals have come through. And then I also did some calculations of my own from the CDC website for America, and they're on track to have the ratio from this point of the year. If you then project that out to the whole year, they will end up being 3,000 fewer deaths than last year, with 2 million more people in the country than last year. And which projects out to about 30,000 fewer deaths than what we'd expect going from last year's statistics. And at the same time, they're trying to tell us that 220,000 people have died of COVID this year. So 2.85 million is roughly what the death total was last year. 2.85 million will be roughly the death total this year. But supposedly 220,000 people have died of a new, never before seen virus, which is killing everyone. So there you go.
But that just proves the lockdown worked. That's what Dan says every day with the numbers so long. The strategy worked. I saved the state from my own incompetence, and I flattened the curve, but flattened the state in the process.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they had that even back. You go back to 2009 with the bird flu, and Neil Ferguson was saying he put out a public statement saying we have,
down.
Yes, that we have to. 200 million people could die of bird flu if we don't do something. The official numbers in the end were around about 200 people in total worldwide. But that was obviously because everybody listened to him as well, and they ended up killing all those chickens and, slaughtering all of those farmers' businesses. Obviously that worked.
He saved us from the Holocaust.
Holocaust. That's a new one. The Holocaust. Four horsemen of the apocalypse. I can't do that. Well, I won't try that again.
So in Victoria this past week, we've had, what is it, 1s and 2s, 3s. We had 5 today, but that's because there's a new cluster which has emerged in the north of Melbourne, in Dallas, Roxborough Park, Broadmeadows, Preston, West Heidelberg, and they've had to shut Preston Islamic College after a student, year 5 student, that was linked to an additional cases found in a social housing block at Broadmeadows. And so the question is turning to in Victoria now, as Dan's he's indicated that be able to have significant reopening on the weekend. He makes his Dan decision day on Sunday, but he's been talking about what the new normal will be, and what when we resume receiving international travellers and resuming the hotel quarantine program, what that might look like. And this was one of his thoughts in his daily press briefings. I'll just play that.
Policy going forward as we look to the entirety of 2021, for instance, not knowing when a vaccine turns up. That would then mean that you've got options, and one of those options might be to say to people, and other countries in the world are doing this, here is an electronic device that means we can be certain about where you are, but there is some technology that can actually monitor your vital signs as well, so it becomes something that's not just to ensure you stay where you're supposed to stay, it's also a way in which we can monitor whether you're healthy or otherwise. That's a piece of work that's being done.
So what could he be referring to there? A device that can track your both your movements and vital signs?
Sounds like he's just spreading conspiracy theories to me. It's as was that health minister of was it a health minister? Somebody of the federal government. I don't know if it was a Liberal minister.
Alan Tudge, acting immigration minister, with a new digitized cards, which can have a digital vaccination certificate.
Yeah, and so if you want to avoid quarantine, if you travel in the future, if you don't wish to be paying $3,000 for your own imprisonment in a substandard hotel where you're locked in and can't open the windows, then for 21 days, then yeah, just get the COVID vaccine, but it's not going to be compulsory, honest.
I'd just like to provide an update on the Oxford vaccine trial. We just got some news in the past 24 hours. Oxford vaccine volunteer dies in Brazil.
Yeah, she apparently she was the one who took the placebo.
Okay.
No, I'm joking. I don't know.
A volunteer participating in clinical trials of the COVID-19 vaccine developed by Oxford University died in Brazil. Officials said Wednesday, though media said she had received a placebo, not the test.
Oh, yay!
It's the first death reported in the various vaccine trials taking place worldwide. However, organisers of the study
you picked it like a dirty nose, Steve.
Yeah. However, organisers of the study said an independent review concluded there were no safety concerns and that testing of the vaccine developed with pharmaceutical firm AstraZeneca would continue. Media reports said the volunteer was a 28-year-old doctor working on the front lines of the pandemic who died from complications from COVID-19. All significant medical incidents where the participants in the control group or COVID-19 vaccine group are independently reviewed.
Oh, so they injected the virus into her instead. And gave her a placebo.
Hey, Reg.
How you going, guys?
Reg.
Yeah, we're just talking about one of the vaccine trial participants with the Oxford one died, but they received the placebo, so I guess that's fine.
Yeah, I heard. I just saw the on the news articles and all that, and something went bloody wrong there. And the president of Brazil has said no to vaccines.
Bolsonaro, yes, he has been one of the the global leaders who's been against shutdowns. In fact, he's led freedom rallies in Brazil. He actually did catch COVID, but he took hydroxychloroquine and said to the reporters, "It'll only be bad for you if you're fat like you reporters are."
Oh,
There's a reason we like this guy.
Yeah.
That guy's a badass. He was a soldier.
Mm.
Yeah.
He also said Pinochet should have killed more people.
Mm.
You mean more commies?
Mm.
Yeah.
Very important distinction.
We spoke on the Uncuckables previously about the ongoing Antifa protest in Chile against the Pinochet constitution, and the police, they were blamed for one of the 16-year-old protesters falling off a bridge into a river. Police said he fell. But this week in Santiago in Chile, the protesters went a bit further. They burnt down a Catholic church.
Yeah, they need to start giving Chile some helicopters again. Start sending them some helicopters. A few people need to be dropped out of them again, I think.
Yeah, it's not like Marxists to go up to Catholic churches. I believe this is
damn right.
sometime in the 1930s. Yeah.
And we've got joining us now, Pissy Leaks Pete. So I'll add him to the.
Hello. What's up, fellas? What's up?
Hey, good.
Pretty good. So
It was your first time on the
absolutely,
Uncuckables.
mate. No worries.
So you've given us lots of super chats over the years, which we much appreciate.
No worries, mate. Do my best, mate. Do my best.
Now you're a Victorian, Pete. So Melburnian actually. So you've been suffering under this Malacca Dan Andrews.
Yep, he's an absolute stooge, I can say, mate. Biggest stooge ever, mate, I'd say right now. Not as much as compared to Ardern as well as Pallichal Cup Queensland. What can I say? This week you might have a bit of a reprieve. Apparently went from 5 kilometres, 5Ks, down to 25, just kind of loosen the noose a bit, just a bit.
Although the muzzle is still pretty tight with the
mandatory
fitted face masks.
Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But hey, at the end of the day, the Victorian people, at the end of the day, you're trading away your liberties and you're trading away your rights for a haircut. What can I say?
Dave, have you booked in your haircut yet?
I don't have that problem.
Maybe you could get just a head shining. Do barbers do that?
I think, have they opened the car wash yet?
Yes, the DIY car wash.
Book me in.
If you're in New South Wales, I'll give you a haircut.
Well, you just do the buzz cut, Reg. That's you're a fan of that.
Yeah.
Do you associate long hair with commie hippies?
No, I hate long hair. I prefer to shave my own hair.
Now, we've got the Queensland election in a couple of weeks. You mentioned, Pete, Pallichal. Deb Frecklington, she decided to channel a bit of Dan Andrews this week, announcing in North Queensland there'd be a curfew for youths to crack down on youth crime up there. So it would be 8 p.m. for those who were 10 to 14, and it'd be 10 p.m. For those 15 to 17.
Wow. Well, compared to that, mate, I mean, in Victoria, you can just do whatever you bloody want. Compared to Queensland, you got curfews for that. Jeez, I could just go in there, have your diversity, break into every house. No worries, mate.
And I remember it was a while ago now. There was we think he was inspired by the XYZ poorly labelled satire, James McPherson in The Spectator, with that Dan Andrews article, or that article about Dan Andrews that said if you don't want to get your head stomped on, don't worry about human rights. Well, he's back with another this week, which I just. Oh, do you want to read it, Dave?
No, you read it out. I think your mic's better.
Oh yeah, yep. So because curfews went down so well in Victoria, didn't they, Deb? The politician vying for Queensland's top job has promised to make people even less free if they vote for her at the state's upcoming election. Queensland LNP leader Deb Frecklington and her party would impose a 6 p.m. curfew for North Queenslanders and ensure everyone was in bed by 9 p.m. with lights out by 9:15 p.m. if elected. The policy was part of a range of new police state initiatives unveiled by the LNP yesterday to capitalise on the public's appetite for tough restrictions imposed for no good reason by dictatorial state premiers. Queensland Premier Anastasia Palaszczuk is leading in the polls as voters look to reward her for implementing harsh rules in the fight against coronavirus. Meanwhile, in Victoria, Dan Andrews enjoyed strong support for a draconian lockdown, and West Australian Premier Mark McGowan is likely to be re-elected after cutting voters off from the rest of the world for their own good. Miss Frecklington, not wanting to be outdone, said she hoped to convince voters that the Queensland LNP could make people even less free. People in Townsville and Cairns would be subject to curfews and strict bedtimes with fines of $250 issued to people who are out of bed without a reasonable excuse. Under the plan, police would be given powers to go from house to house, checking if people were in bed. This is about making sure people are safely in bed, and it's based on science, Miss Frecklington told reporters as she anxiously scanned the media pack to see if Peter Credlin was present. If you are out of bed, then you'll be marched straight back to bed so the community is kept safe. She said the strict 9:50 p.m. lights out policy would help to reduce carbon emissions while at the same time demonstrating that the LNP was adept as Labor at making pointless rules that violated people's civil liberties. She said lights out might be put back to 10 p.m. during school holidays if people obey the rules. We will be guided by advice from the Queensland Chief Sadist Officer, who is the expert when it comes to keeping people safely locked up. Ms. Frecklington said the curfew was similar to one put in place Victoria earlier this year, but contained measures to ensure people were not only indoors but in bed with the lights turned down. We want to do more than keep people safe. We want to tuck them in, she said. This is a nanny state where we literally are the nanny. Our private polling says it's a winner with the public. Though I noticed the Spectator here with James McPherson's follow-up satire article, they haven't got the boomer satire warning, so it's even more poorly labelled than the XYZ satire.
The thing is, like, it's a bit obvious that it's satire. Like the key to like satire is to make.
Hey, Trump retweeted a Babylon Bee article.
he knew what he was doing there.
You see, you call it satire, but I'm just thinking that it's a winning election strategy for myself, and I think I'm going to stand and create a new party and actually make policies like that and just see how well it does, just for the hell of it. You know, I could probably score better than the Greens.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say on the 31st of October, election day, around about 90 One Nation candidates will be challenging all 90 seats across Queensland. So One Nation might get a few more seats up there, and yeah,
it definitely is the Queensland election. Douche and turd sandwich election, because Palaszczuk and both Frecklington are pretty awful.
Yeah, pretty awful.
It would be nice if there are a few Fraser Anning type One Nation candidates again.
Yeah, the problem is
just slipping in, you know, under the radar, and then getting, you know, ousted as soon as they get elected, because Pauline doesn't like them speaking too much truth?
It's we need people to sort of get into the Australian Parliament on the understanding that they're there for a good time, not a long time. It was actually one of the things that I liked about Fraser Anning. He understood that he was basically there for a certain window, and it was highly unlikely that he would get another chance. So he went for maximum impact. So I think, like, if you're going to try to be a Fraser Anning, understand that concept and go for maximum impact.
Yeah.
Like, act dumb, and then all of a sudden, you know, maximum impact. That's how you get in. That's how you get access.
Yeah.
Doesn't also depend on the preferences as well, with Liberal and Labor will just out preference One Nation as well. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but you know how it makes itself right.
The X factor, right? It's apparently it's all different in every seat, and that I've been unable to keep up.
Yeah,
but what happened
Queensland's
last
way
time?
different.
Yeah, what happened last time was I think the LNP put One Nation below Labor, and so in revenge they put all the sitting members last. Going back to, well, Reg is a New South Welshman, but mine, Pete's, and Dave's home state. Well, we all know about that the second wave was caused by the hotel quarantine failures. Well, we learnt this week that they used the same blood glucose monitoring needle in 253 people, potentially exposing them to HIV, hepatitis C, and hepatitis B.
Holy shit, they
So
got
it's
AIDS.
just,
Jeez,
yeah.
Jeez, what can I say?
Yeah. It's not enough that he spread the Andrews government quarantine failures spread coronavirus throughout the state, but could have potentially created a new wave of HIV infections or Hep B or C. Maybe a new.
So they took blood samples with the same needle.
Yes, for 243 people.
Jesus Christ! Like, how bad do you have to be?
There's more heroin and drug injecting users would be more hygienic than what was going on in that quarantine program.
Yeah, they could have just gone down to the local exchange thing. I used to deliver the damn things here in Perth. 14,000 needles a week they give out.
Apparently, there was about allegedly 768 deaths associated with the hotel inquiry. That's what I.
798 it is now.
That's right, yeah.
Because we're at Dave's forgot to turn his camera off when he's going somewhere.
It's gone to the crap.
Hopefully he's muted his microphone. Good. He got my hint, but yes. So 798 Victorians have died with COVID during the second wave. 20,000 infections, and well, obviously Dan Andrews' lockdown that has destroyed livelihoods, led to suicides, and a whole bunch of mental health impacts as well. So the collateral damage from Dan's government is immense.
I'm actually very, very suspicious of the whole lockdown to death responsibility claims in the first place. It all seems very, very. I don't know. I'm because of all of the things that I'm now looking at into actual total death statistics around the world, and the fact that these. Oh, who's
Reg, are you outside?
Yeah, I'm outside, just wearing a jumper in a moment.
The wind is quite loud.
Oh no, sorry. I'm just gonna block the wind in a moment. Just using the jumper.
Yeah, anyway, I was saying the fact that the testing positive rate goes up and down perfectly to plan of anything that gets released in the media, whether for Dan Andrews or against Dan Andrews, and then looking at the actual statistics of total deaths to actual deaths, I'm actually very, very suspicious about the whole testing numbers that come through and the timing of them, and even the whole hotel fiasco debacle in itself. I'm getting to the point where I just don't even trust that to be a real event that's occurred. I'm really starting to think that that is just like a deliberate own goal kicked to deliberately make cases go up again somewhere, with the understanding that, it's all going to blow under the rug, and you'll be fine, mate. Don't worry about it. You need to do this now. You need to make the cases go up somehow, and cases aren't going up, and we need to manufacture some cases. And the only way we can manufacture some cases is if we have someone to blame. Therefore, hotel fiasco thing. I'm literally at that point of mistrust at the moment. Now that I am seeing the actual death totals, and now that I'm really getting more and more confident about calling out this virus as a complete and utter scam from start to finish, that it doesn't even exist. My level of distrust is through the roof now.
That's a really good call there, Steve. On that note, I think it was last week when we had Jared Searby, we were talking about this because we were talking, about our suspicions about coronavirus. And then we started talking about the coronavirus inquiry, and like last week was when, what's her name? Peter Credlin was tearing Daniel Andrews a new one, and she'd already claimed several victims, several heads. But then I brought that up. I'm like, well, like what we're talking about here are multiple layers of deception here. We're talking about locking down the entire world over a virus which, like, you could probably justify it if it was going to kill hundreds of millions or billions of people, but for the deaths that are actually said to have caused it, you can't justify it, and then that just makes you more and more suspicious. So yeah, like it's like we've got multiple layers of deception, and I called this like the start of the second wave Victorian lockdown, because it was coming out that Daniel Andrews had signed the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative. And I was talking about the fact that, like, so let's look at this from a geopolitical situation. The government, the Australian federal government, is absolutely flabbergasted that a state can bypass all of this national security apparatus to sign an infrastructure contract with essentially an enemy power, with a hostile power. And like, it's well known that the Belt and Road Initiative is basically a way to gain a foothold in countries and to basically own infrastructure in countries that you want, that you think are strategically important. So the federal government had offered federal troops to look after the hotel quarantine. So like you could basically sort of paint that, okay, the Australian government was actually making a power play, going, okay, we're actually going to like occupy that state and with our own troops, and sending a message to China, no, this is our land, you can't have it. And so
but then the federal government now are trying to pass a law which will allow foreign troops onto Australian soil to in the event of emergencies, with no liability, with all liabilities waived for any death or injuries that they may cause whilst they're here. So
that's a good point, really good point.
To me, what liberals or federal liberal are doing is what the federal liberal have always done. They are there as a fake opposition to globalist Labour, whilst globalist Labour are well upfront about what they're doing, and this is what we're doing, and you need to support us because diversity and one world and all the rest of it. Liberals are like saying, no, we don't agree with that. But they're actually the ones who are setting the framework that all of this can be done. They were the ones who set the state of emergency in the first place. They were the ones who made it impossible to travel in or out of the country. They are the ones behind the scenes who are doing all the things that enable Labour to do what they do at any level. And yet at the same time, you have all of these, fake objections by Peter Dutton saying, oh, I really hope Dan Andrews lifts the lockdown. Well, come on, mate. Who is the federal government here? Who is the state government here? And don't tell me the states have rights to override the Constitution and all the rest of it. Crap. Don't tell me you don't have powers to mess with the state's finances if they start playing hardball with you. All of these fake words to appease the Liberal voters and keep them in the dark, whilst they seem to be completely and utterly on board with everything that's going on. Belton Road, smart cities, the whole works. It just seems to me that we've got traitors from top to bottom.
That's actually a really good point, Steve. That analysis, my initial theory doesn't actually stack up against it. That's a really good point. It makes far more sense that the Liberals are basically just doing what they've always done, and they're the Trojan horse. They're just
they gave the states permission to implement police states, and of course Dan Andrews during the first lockdown, he of course had even back then the harshest lockdowns, the biggest fines, the slowest to reopen. But bringing it back to what Peter Credlin is investigating, and I get what you're saying about that there's layers on it. What she's getting to is the cover up and the unaccountability of and the secrecy of the Andrews government. And I've said to my viewers, and there was also another, it was put into a meme form that the only mainstream media program I would recommend to anyone is Credlin. That was made by a fan of the show.
That's such an extremist statement from you there, Tim.
Yeah, so
very lucky fan.
She's got a special Sky News documentary on November 1 about the quarantine cover-up, and it's been revealed this week that our Chief Health Officer, Brett Sutton, who all the ladies seem to have a thing for because they think he's really handsome, he has misled the inquiry when he said he didn't know about that private security was being used until June, when emails show that he knew from day one and tried to instruct department lawyers to not give them to the inquiry. And there's this funny meme going around where Brett Sutton is calling up Hillary Clinton, "How do I ditch these emails?" And she says, "You're fucked now."
See, I don't think. To me, it's all just a distraction. What Peter Credlin is actually doing, rather than actually holding these people to account, because they won't be held to account at the end of the day. There'll be the guy's brother is married to the lady who was at the Event 201 thing last year, and also heads up the task force, the COVID task force.
Sutton. Are you talking about Sutton?
Sutton's brother, yeah. Wow. So So do I think he's gonna he'll have a bit of bad publicity and a bit of supposed stress in the media, but do I think he won't be taken care of? He'll be taken care of. What Peter Credlin is actually doing is enforcing the narrative and reinforcing the narrative that COVID is dangerous, that people can die, and that people have died because we didn't take it seriously enough, and people have died because the government didn't do this, that, and the other. So all she's doing is reinforcing the narrative, whilst and making a show of holding these people to account. But Dan Andrews ain't going to go to jail. Sutton isn't going to go to jail. None of these fuckers are going to go to jail. At worst, they'll be unelected, and then they'll find themselves in a highly paid bureaucratic job at the UN. That's the end goal. Is they come into politics, they do their time, and then they get to go and be part of the big boys club, where you get big money, even bigger money than you get for being premier. You get to be a diplomat or something or other. That's what's going to happen. They're not going to be held to account. This is all just a show.
Yeah, excellent said. The Liberal Party do have form, as we referred to earlier. Like, such a huge fuss was made after Israel did 9/11. When we had the refugee, the boat people crisis on Australia's shores. John Howard made a really big point of being supposedly strong against illegal immigrants. Like, he went up there saying, "We decide who comes to this country and by what means." And so the left screamed absolute blue murder. They called him a racist. They said, "Oh, you're taking all of Pauline Hanson's policies," and he kind of did. But then, what did the Howard government boast for the next decade? They were responsible for the highest immigration levels Australia had until that.
Ever had, yeah.
Yeah,
and they still they took in higher numbers of refugees. They just didn't take them by boat.
Exactly.
And also, especially Amanda Vanstone, who was also responsible for taking the Sudanese refugees as well, just to make that point.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, it was. We took far more refugees from Asia, and from Africa and the Middle East. It was when the floodgates really opened. So
John Howard was pro-China.
Yes.
John Howard also. John Howard was also the one who started the renewable energy subsidies.
Yep. And took our guns.
Reg, it's windy again.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier. Yes, that's what. Yeah, that's what he did, and that really bit of a shock, you know.
Shall we move back to the Victorian police state now, because we have our AFL Grand Final long weekend, but private gatherings are still banned. Out in public, you can only gather in groups no larger than 10 from no more than 2 households, and of course you have to wear face masks. We'd been wondering where Luke Cornelius, Chief Wiggum, had gone over the past month or so, because of course he was the one who defended arresting that pregnant Ballarat mother Zoe Bueller for incitement, and warned that your feet aren't going to hit the ground if you try to protest on September 5 Freedom Day. Though he hit a different tone today when he returned, talking about the police operation on the weekend, though he just held a press conference in a corridor, and it was filmed in a vertical 360 times 640 camera phone press conference. But luckily I found a widescreen version of his press conference. I'm just going to play what he said about protesting here, and it's a remarkable change in tone.
Public gatherings, there are plans for yet another protest in the Shrine. You've already described this being in the final quarter and close to the finish line. What can you say to those people?
Well, so protesting is not unlawful. It's a human right. And we're now operating in a context where the Cho directions do allow people to leave home for recreation and for socialising. And people can choose, if they want to, while they're doing that, to also voice protest.
Wait, did I just hear him say, protest, not protesting is... Oh my gosh. So apparently they said it's like all right for Black Lives Matter to do this and that, but what about the people who are standing up for rights, liberty and freedom? Screw all, And he just came back and just said that.
Yeah, so because there's another protest at the Shrine tomorrow, which nobody has been charged with incitement over the plans for that. And he had that press conference for about 23 minutes when he talked about the restrictions on gathering, and said that as long as people are within their 25-kilometre radius, and they might get questioned by police about where you're from, that all events on the weekend need to be done in a COVID-safe way. because tomorrow was a grand final eve public holiday, though it's being changed to a thank you day to thank our frontline heroes, which Dan constantly talks about.
So-called
the propaganda is
heroes.
relentless, isn't it?
They're more like
the frontline
CCP drongos, you know?
Yeah. And Dan said today that calls to the police assistance line, aka the snitch line, have increased. And well, it was broken in the Herald Sun this morning about police monitoring with drones on AFL Grand Final day. And this is what I'll just play what Daniel Andrews said about drone surveillance. I think I haven't. Who's got me on the background there?
Reg, you gotta mute yourself, mate.
Yeah. I'll just sound.
Actually, no, I don't have the clip. Sorry.
No.
All good.
Yeah, but he basically said, "Oh, if you're doing nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about, and I wouldn't mind if a drone flew over my property because I'm not doing anything wrong."
If I see one drone flying in filming me, I'll take it down. I'll just take it down with a rifle.
So basically, you can have more than 10 people
Even if
but you can actually protest.
If you watch the episode of South Park, have you seen the episode of South Park when they made fun of the drones with Craig Munn's Bush? Yeah, that's what I don't like about them. They just like spy with drone, and if I have a drone watching, if I have misses and the drone's watching me misses, I'll just take it down with a rifle because I hate drones.
Yeah, I've throughout the Melbourne lockdown and the curfew. Dave and Pete will also attest to this. The drones, the helicopters, the planes constantly flying over. They still haven't stopped, and you don't think that they will probably stop after the lockdown is fully lifted, because Dan seems to be a huge fan of the police state.
Well, this is what we've talked about. The idea that they push it up to here, but then they pull it back to here. So if they've been at this level before, but they just put it up to that level, people would have arced up. But they've made it look like they're easing off. But what they're doing at every step is they're just pushing up that level of surveillance. So the idea of aeroplanes and helicopters flying over the suburbs every single day is normalized now here in Melbourne. I hear it above my house every single day, and wherever I go for work, I notice helicopters.
Yeah, you won't have a day in Melbourne now without hearing a helicopter or a plane flying over at any time. It could be late in the evening, it could be at lunchtime or early in the morning. They're flying all the time.
And
the worst thing about the helicopters is the misuse of them. I mean, the whole purpose of a helicopter is to throw communists out of.
Yes, exactly.
Free chopper rides, mate. Free chopper rides.
There was another.
They've stolen our meme.
Yeah. There was another anti-Dan business in the news this week. This was Acrobar in Moorabbin. If you support Dan, there's a $1 surcharge to your order. And the I Stand With Dan people were so triggered that they sent abuse to the cafe. And so they've had to hire security. And I love the I Stand With Dan people saying, "Oh, this is going to cost them lots of business." No, I think a lot of people is like, I know where I'm getting my coffees and cappuccinos from now.
Yeah, save yourself $1.
And compare this to the glowing reviews which that cafe in Brunswick. The famous her or whatever it was called, Feminist Cafe. Yeah, they have a 10% surcharge for men, and the ABC love that sort of thing. Yeah,
they went out of business, didn't they? I think there was.
Yes, they did.
Which is really great.
And I hear that these cappuccinos at Acrobar are so good that there's no way that they can make you wet the bed.
That's definitely taking the piss, there, mate.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know all about taking the piss, Pete.
No worries, mate.
Now the reason the reason I invited both you, Pete, and you, Reg, on tonight, because I know that you're big Paulie Fenwick fans, who he's made probably the best 2 Australian comedies of all time, Fat Pizza and Howzo's, one of the few anti-PC, non-cucked comedians, and he's back with Howzo's versus the Virus starting October 26th.
Yep. Yeah, they unleashed a Cold Chisel song, you know, the last playing out of Sydney. Well, yeah, they unleashed a video of it just to promote the Howzo's versus the Virus. Shazza like singing it while Paulie was having a bit of a shag fest with Alice Sheilers, and
yeah,
it's like
I saw that. I thought that would probably be too much to play on this show, but I'm going to play the promo on it because I think that everyone should watch it on 7mate. He started off on SBS with his Fat Pizza and Howzo's, but given how cucked SBS is now, I don't think he'd ever be able to set foot in that headquarters again.
Stuff SBS.
Mate,
I mean,
that was the best use of pizza during those early 2000s. That was the best. I'll tell you right now.
Yeah, the Terra Pizza episode, that's the best 30 minutes of television of all time in Australia. Anyway, here's Howzo's versus the Virus promo.
Hello, Stooges. I just wanted to remind you of the most important date of the year. No, it's not Christmas. No, it's not the AFL final, the NRL final, your mother's party for her anniversary, your kid's birthday, none of that. It's the 26th of October, 26th October, the day after the AFL final. What's happening? What's going on? It's Howzo's versus the Virus, the lockdown. That's right. Howzo's versus COVID. We're going to take them on, mate. We hate that virus. Poo, poo. We hate states that get locked down and borders. Poo, poo. And it's all going to be in the show. Don't miss it. Everyone's getting fonged. Everybody.
They triumphed over authority.
I hate authority!
Took on Fat Pizza and came out with extra pepperoni on top. But can Howzo survive 2020? It's the series that someone won a Logie for.
We're out of toilet paper!
Get ready for the most bonkers comedy this country has ever seen.
We're going to have like a big hot tub party.
New Howzo's 2020 starts October 26 on Mate.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yep. And the pool returns from the Fat Pizza.
It reminds me, there was a scene, Howzo's against Fat Pizza, one when, was it the so-called Mayor Abbott, and also Paulie just goes into bongs the living shit out of him as well.
Yeah, Premier Abbott.
Yeah, that's right.
He's played by that Premier, Brendan Jones, who's on WSFM in Sydney, Jonesy and Amanda. I wonder if he'll be back as the lockdown Premier. He actually released Paulie a Howzo's comic, which actually involves Dan Andrews.
Yes.
Do one of you want to read it out, because you'll be able to?
Yep, I'll read the part one. Is that Daniel Andrews Stooge? What is he doing here? Yes, that's me. I'm just seeing how good of a job I'm doing. Get out of Sunnyvale, dickhead, or you'll get dong my hard. To be continued. And for part two, I don't think you want to do that. I have Sunnyvale police here. Yeah, don't make us such icy Valzoni. Hang on. Yeah, come cause hey, you I can't even read the hang on. It's, yeah. Okay, cause ha 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 ha. mate, you couldn't shit.
Catch corona. If it's spat on you.
Catch corona if it's spat on you. Oh, he's right. You know, you couldn't chase a snail through a lettuce patch. Oh god. Yeah, apologise. Just so the screen, I couldn't read the really small words there.
Mm.
Yeah, it was really good.
Because he's got a massive Facebook following, Paulie Fennick, and he's been definitely, I think, one of the voices of ordinary Australians from all backgrounds this year, because we've seen all different multicultural communities rebel against the lockdown. There was obviously the Muslims in Dandenong and Broadmeadows here, and we've even seen a lot of the hippies be involved in the anti-lockdown movement. And we know that Paulie shows mocks every single ethnic group, intersectional group ever. It's equality of offence.
Mate, he's a woggy all-rounder. What can I tell you? A woggy all-rounder, mate.
So he spent this year making Housos versus the virus, because apparently he said that it was the only show he could make with the corona restrictions, which means that Fat Pizza back in business is delayed until 2021.
Oh, no.
Can I just quickly say one thing? Those two cops, mate. Reminds me of, Sergeant Dick and Constable Head, mate. Just a bunch of, you know who, mate. Can I tell you? Yeah.
Constable Cop reminds me of Ted Bullpit, but much shorter.
And one of them, mate, the bald guy, definitely going to be Cornelius, mate. Seriously.
Although Fat Pizza back in business, that left us on a cliffhanger in 2019, because Ronnie McDougall, he was out for revenge, because in the Fat Pizza movie, Paulie kicked him in the McNuggets.
He McDougall his balls, McNuggets.
So thanks to Pete, he sent me the clip of the cliffhanger. So I hope that Channel 7 doesn't stooge us here and get this taken down for copyright. So is Paulie going to be able to keep his McNuggets?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Yep.
I'm going to have nightmares all night just from that clip.
Why? Are you afraid of clouds?
I'm afraid of losing my balls. It's always had a sensitivity about even just ever since the first time I got kicked in the balls when I was about 7. Just even watching someone, thinking it's one of those phobias, you know. Just can't do it.
It'd be much better to.
Playing with cricket, you get used to it.
I'll definitely recommend watching Housos versus the Virus more than the new Borat 2 movie, which is on Amazon Prime, where, what is it? Borat goes to the US to interfere in their elections, and he's released.
And he was over at the CPAC 2020 with Mike Pence, and he got kicked out. He was dressed up as Donald Trump with a girl dressed up as Hillary Clinton. He goes, "Mr. Michael Pence, I got the girl." And yeah, everyone didn't recognise Borat. Before he was escorted out and all that.
Hasn't he also just tried to pull something on Giuliani?
Yeah, there's apparently
a little stunt and trying to basically set him up to counter all of the Hunter Biden sex pedophile stuff that's coming out on his laptop. They tried to set Giuliani up.
No, the Hunter Biden's laptop, it was all put on there by Russia, and they got Hunter Biden to the
Russians. Me and conspiracy theories again. I apologize.
Russia made him a new Manchurian candidate and put all that stuff on his laptop, made him deliver it to the computer repair shop and forget to pick it up again. And then they knew that the computer owner would give it to the FBI and the New York Post. That's apparently the theory.
But I'm just. But what's the Borat story and Giuliani? Because I only just come across it today that Giuliani's saying that that Sacha Baron Cohen tried to basically set him up, and then
Yes.
they seriously edited the videos to make it look like he's playing with his dick when he's just taking a mic out or something or other.
Borat's daughter apparently is the journalist who tries to seduce him.
Yeah, and but then he sort of Giuliani saying that as soon as he realised that it was a setup, he called the police.
Well, I think we have to wait for the movie because all we've seen is a still. Giuliani denies that there was anything inappropriate that happened, but I guess that Sacha Baron Cohen is releasing that so we can watch the film.
Yeah, but Giuliani is also saying that Sacha Baron Cohen is deliberately trying to set him up and deliberately doing it at this particular time.
So, well, yes, of course it is. And remember that Sacha Baron Cohen, he got a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Anti-Defamation League and said that Hitler would have loved Facebook and so would Goebbels.
I just find it intriguing. Like, we've got somebody of a certain ethnicity who pretends to be like an almost Russian, essentially doing a little bit of election meddling. I find the projection quite interesting. It's very meta.
Who are his other characters? Were that was it Ali G? That what is it? British wannabe gangster.
Yeah, Ali G.
Yeah, Bruno,
Grimsby.
that gay Austrian.
The dictator.
Yeah,
dictator as well.
Yep. Yeah, I used to like Borat, but not anymore. It's just like
How can you accept?
And then after Borat filmed to areas.
How can you accept an award from the Anti-Defamation League? A lifetime award when your career is made out of defaming people.
Well, it's quite apt coming from the ADL. Yes. It's the defamation.
I mean, look at Borat. He's like, I mean, Borat was being like the movie. He was ripping on the Jews and all that. Even put a Jew on the cross.
Yeah, he's Jewish.
Yeah, he's allowed to. He's the only one who's allowed to. Yeah.
The FBI gave an update on election interference today. They said the main actors were Russia and Iran, and apparently Iran is responsible for this fake Proud Boy email that was sent to Democrats. It's from the website info@officialproudboys.com, subject vote for Trump or else. We are in possession of all your information, email address, telephone, everything. You're currently registered as a Democrat, and we know this because we gained access into the entire voting infrastructure. You'll vote for Trump on election day, we will come after you. Change your party affiliation to Republican to let us know you received this message and we'll comply. We will know which candidate you voted for. I would take this seriously if I were you.
This is just a chaos bomb. I love it. It's amazing. It's a great troll.
So I guess Enrique Tarrio is not really Cuban. He is Iranian. The chair of the Proud Boys.
The Cuban Iranian, yeah. And charcoal, a charcoal flavored white supremacist. He's really a coal miner who didn't wash. He's actually a white supremacist underneath.
What was that? It's Virginia Trioli on the ABC. She called the Proud Boys white supremacist. Waleed Ali just went for the Wikipedia a definition: far-right neo-fascist.
Oh.
Well, I should say the eSaftey Commissioner definition. I don't know if she has an opinion on the Proud Boys.
Tim, I don't know if you've started using the expression, but I'm starting to use the expression on XYZ a lot. That something's been debunked by multiple sources. What is it? Debunked by multiple fact checkers on Huffington Post and Wikipedia. Apparently, it's the latest thing now. Yeah.
Yeah, the independent fact-checking network, according to Facebook.
Yeah, I have a feeling the XYZ might be putting out some a few articles about things which have been debunked by multiple fact checkers in the next couple of weeks. Yeah, watch this space. Yeah.
Enrique Tarrio has changed his Gab name to Ayatollah Tarrio.
Yeah.
He's the supreme
Tim,
leader of the Proud Boys now.
You guys, not only are you white supremacists, you're conducting white Sharia, yeah?
Sounds like a bit of a chocolate conspiracy there, guys.
Yeah, I'd say so. So, Tim, we've been going for about 2 hours. You reckon we're just about ready to wrap things up?
Yeah, I reckon. We've got the final debate tomorrow between Biden and Trump. That'll be occurring, I think, about 11 a.m. Well, our Melbourne time. Obviously, Stephen, you should check your local listings being over there in Perth. And yeah, thanks, Pete and Reg, for joining us tonight. Grand final weekend, Richmond versus Geelong. I'm a Lions supporter, so I was disappointed. Pete, you're a Tigers supporter.
I'll say the Tigers aren't back to back, mate.
Yeah. And Reg, you're the Sydney sider here, so NRL Grand Final, are you going for a prediction?
Penrith, mate. Penrith. Sorry, I'm in the middle of the road. Yeah, I'm going for Penrith, mate.
Okay. Well, we'll see what the final whistle is on Sunday and what Dan decides to let us do from next Monday. Thank you, everyone, tonight, and we'll see you again same time next week.
All right.
Cheers, all.
See you later, guys.
Yeah, cheers. Adios.
The Uncuckables.